negative thoughts,
Helplessness.
feeling of helplessness. But what's the most important figure? I didn't hear it yet.
Separate from life.
Exactly, a deep feeling of separation. You're not part of the life around yourself, you're not part of the life inside yourself. This deep feeling of separation, not being part of. I heard depressive people say that, they look around and they see people just moving and passing by. And it all makes no sense. They absolutely don't feel connected, they're totally disconnected. This is the feeling. So there is a deep feeling of separation, and this deep feeling of separation brings forward a feeling of senselessness, not being part of. There is no feeling connection in deep depression whatsoever with whatever.
It's kind of interesting to say a deep senselessness.
Yeah.
It's kind of tricky. There's a deep sensation.
They say that they don't see color.
Also, that's true as well, is that, when you're deeply depressed, everything looks grey. The sense of color also is lost partly. And that has an influence on the whole nerve system when we are depressed. Although there are a lot of negative thoughts sometimes when a person is in depression, the mind is still functioning. It's more difficult to concentrate, but still the mind seems to be more or less functioning. It's not that when somebody is in deep depression that you cannot communicate with the person, that the person cannot think about things. What we see as the mind, that part is still functioning. But we call it a mental disease. So if you look to the different areas, which areas basically almost is stopping functioning, it's the area of sentience.
What?
The area of sentience.
What?
Sentience,
Feeling
feelings,
connection.
the feeling connection. There is almost no feelings. There's no feeling connection. Normally, if we see a flower, we get a sense of the feeling of the flower. When we watch television, we get a sense or a feeling of the emotions where people are moving through. If we connect with another person, we get a sense or a feeling of the person. So when we don't have any sense or feeling of our surroundings or ourselves anymore, but only a background feeling of doom and anxiety. So, if this is coloring our whole field of sentience, then feelings don't exist anymore. They're not there. So when they don't exist anymore, then when you look around and see how people move through their lives and what's happening, it doesn't make any sense anymore. Can you follow me? If you just try to kind of move into it. Why would you bother?
Why would you what?
Bother.
Why would you bother?
Why would you bother?
I didn't hear the word.
Why would you bother? What does it mean to you? Logical meaning is not something which is really enough for us as people. You know, you can think about what a thing is meaning, but this is not very fulfilling. This is not making us really alive. Or giving us the feeling of being alive. What is giving us the feeling of being alive is the depth of experience we have in the moment, either inside or outside. The depth of connection we have with ourselves and with our surroundings. Do you recognize what I'm talking about?
Yes.
We feel more alive in the moment that we feel more connected. Literally, you see people when they walk in somewhere where there is friends and they open up and they start to talk and they feel connection. You literally see people coming alive. When you talk to somebody who is listening and understands you and you feel that you're connected to each other, you feel yourself coming to life. You recognize what I'm talking about? So this feeling aspect, this aspect of sentience, this feeling connection, experience, is really important to us. So you can understand when this falls away, in what kind of hell we are. And it's a recognizable hell, because often we find ourselves in a position where we don't really feel connected, we feel isolated. Not being part of. Not able to make the feeling connection. So, the moment we have less feeling connection, there's less sentience, we are moving into a light depression, a middle light depression, a medium depression, and you can kind of, scale it up from 0 to 10, and there's no connection at all. We all have periods that we feel this, or moments that we feel this. We don't feel alive. There's no sense of being.
No sense of being.
There is not really a sense of being.
But if I compare it to rejection, in rejection you also feel not disconnected. That there is a strong feeling of rejection, so it doesn't move to depression. Or it might move to depression.
For sure. We come to that. We are going to move into what are the ingredients for depression. So when you look energetically to what's happening with a person who is depressed, what you see is that this whole area, the whole chest area, is like there is almost no movement. There is less movement in the chest area. It's like a shutdown in the chest area. The chest area is very much also the basis of our sentience. When you really feel more depressed, it's more difficult to feel love. It's really difficult to love, to feel the love which is there. There's a disconnection.
Can one physically put some energy in? I mean, really, that just take something and shake this.
Because maybe for a moment, but because everything is senseless, and there is really that gives also a kind of resistance to move in any direction. The depression is not there for nothing. On the background of depression, there's something which is really difficult to contain or to deal with. And because it's really difficult to contain or to deal with, we repress this part, and then we move more into rejection, in depression. So that could be a rejection, which is really difficult to deal with. The pain which this rejection is giving us. So what we do is we repress the pain of rejection, but still we are rejected. And what automatically comes forward is that things become more senseless. You recognize what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you talked about rejection.
Now rejection.
It's difficult to contain. Or
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, a pain, a fear.
Wait,
Original cause.
There is something in the background of depression which is really difficult to contain.
And you want to give an example? It could be rejection, but that's not what
Could
we're
be
talking
a
about.
trauma, it could be whatever. But
Just to keep
it,
it order.
it is for sure connected with a trauma. Because the content of depression is basically this feeling of separation, not belonging, not being part of. So we separate ourselves. So when we are strongly rejected, I just give this example because it is an important ingredient of depression. When we are strongly rejected, we have the intent to draw back, to separate.
But how can you prevent?
How can you prevent to be depressed?
Wait, are we jumping into the prevention already, or?
Yeah, how can we defend to be depressed? By understanding depression more deeply and understanding what's behind it. Let's move into this.
Yeah.
So the understanding helps more how to deal with it. So there is basically for depression, 3 key points when we look into our energy system, which have a big influence on being more or less depressed. When these points are more or less blocked, then for sure depression is coming forward.
We talked about this.
Yeah, the 3 depression points. I want to go a little bit more to the depth into it again, because we're going to work with one of the depression points again, and it's worthwhile to look at it. It's really kind of worthwhile to really deeply look into this state. So the first depression point, they're called depression points, is what in Hebrew is called the key of the heart, the first depression point, and the basis of the sternum. And the quality of this point is joie de vivre. I just go back to what I told before. Joie de vivre is the joy, joy to be alive. What you see in children, just the pure joy to have a physical, to be alive, to be here. The joy which comes with life itself. There is a joy in life itself. Simply being alive. Not being grateful that you're alive. These are all structures placed on this. Or thankful, or praise the Lord that you are alive. Just the simple, basic, natural feeling of joy of being alive. What you see in every child, almost every child. So then we say to the children, you know, now you still enjoy life so much, but wait till you grow up. Then you will know better what life is really about.
It's not a picnic.
Life is not a picnic.
Not a rose garden.
So I just want you to just taste, feel this kind of statements we make to our children. They're so depressing.
I know, I was afraid to
Aren't
grow
they?
up just because of
It's
this.
so depressive to say something like that.
Wow. Something to look forward to.
Exactly, become an adult and then you're really depressed.
It's usually coming from depressed people.
It's a try to defend, like Henry said this, the stomach, like.
It's a try to defend by taking away what is natural. So let's defend against pain by moving more to a situation of non-feeling, numbness.
It's just trying to prevent.
If you're so vulnerable and so open and so beautiful, you will get hurt. So better not to be so vulnerable, open and beautiful. Let's mutilate you a little bit. So they will not be there, then you manage in this world. So it's interesting to think about it, because there is a kind of logic in it and how we do it. And we defend it by saying we really care, generally. But basically, what's behind it is a deep belief that we cannot be natural, we cannot be ourselves in this world. We cannot be. So in this, we pass over a traumatic belief. This is based on trauma, when you look to the depth. It's a rejection of life, of yourself, of naturalness. Itself we pass over from generation to generation.
I mean, with these particular statements.
With these statements.
That particular thing, got it.
Yeah, and there is a lot of them. You know, the school is full of these statements. How we educate our children is full of these statements. I don't want to go over all of them, each of them. You can deduce in a lot of beliefs, a lot of statements, a lot of education to the children that, you know, to be open, to be vulnerable, to just be purely alive, to be natural is not a good thing. Think before you do.
And always afraid of evil eye, don't be so happy, so you won't jinx yourself.
Also. And the whole issues around natural anger, natural fear. The fear we have that our children will be in a fear. And how
The fear we have, the children will be in the what?
The fear we have that our children will be in a fear.
Oh, yeah, the fear.
It's the worst thing when your child is
what?
in a fear. The worst thing is when your child is fearful. So the child is fearful.
Fear of fear.
Yeah, our fear of fear directly placed on the fear of the child, which is a natural thing. Every person has fears. It's part of our build, our makeup. So that there is so many things where you see there's a direct transference of our own, we say, wisdom, lessons of life. That's there also, but on our children, of our own experience in life on our children. So when you look what the influence is on this area of joy of life, it gets smothered. There is less joy of life. People separate from being. Separate because you have to be different. It's not okay as you are. The deepest rejection. You're not okay, you have to be different. It's not okay. It's not okay to be spontaneous. It's not okay to make too much noise. It's not okay. This is also how we give the messages. You can ask a child to be more silent because it's difficult for you, which is totally different as you are too loud.
So if you're asking, can you be quiet? It's hard for me.
Right
You
now.
do not, yeah. So
Right
it's
now.
better than saying be quiet.
now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right now.
Right now. Not just to our children, to anybody.
You know why? Why not ask something for yourself? Because it is about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Why make your the way you are perceiving things the law? That's kind of primitive when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's too loud for me, so it's too loud. It's the law. I feel hurt by what you're doing, so you are sadistic, hurtful. I'm disappointed by this, so you are a disappointment.
Well, almost in conflicts all the time. And we do this as adults to each other all the time.
It's, you know, it is a habit. It's how we communicate, how we deal with each other. It's really, really depressing when you think about it. And I mean it literally. Is because everything is a definition as if you are this, and so it has an influence on being. Rejection has an influence on how we relate to our own being. Being comes together with the joie de vivre, the joy of life. When we move down and move more into pure being, there is the joy of life by itself. So that's the first one. Connected with rejection and the pain of rejection. So the pain of rejection is so close to the pain of separation, not belonging. You're not okay, you don't belong here. You're not good enough. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares about you. In the end, you're totally alone. You have to do it totally alone. There's really not somebody there for you. All the things which go wrong is because of you.
That's about, you're talking about the second point? Or
No.
The first point. This is still in the basis also of the first point. Some of them are flipping also over to the second point, but also in the base of the first point. All because of you. This gives us a deep feeling of not okayness, not belonging, separation. And in deep depression we feel totally separated. There's no feeling connection anymore. It's accumulation around this being.
But you cannot accept it that you are alone and just act from it and you accept it. Some people are alone.
Nobody's alone. Aloneness is already an illusion. Everybody in a way is connected. We all influence each other all the time. So we have our separate identity maybe, but we're not alone. How could you be alone with 7 billion people? There's more, 8 billion people by now, I think, on this planet. You know, you read the newspaper. You always are connected in one way or the other.
Yeah,
And
if you-
influenced.
If you care about something, it doesn't mean that someone cares about you.
No.
You can care about the whole world. And
The whole world can not care about you.
yeah.
Exactly. That's possible in our thoughts. If you care, you move into a field of care. And the field of care, we all care, one way or the other, is connecting us already. This is how we connect.
But you're saying that what I understood is that you have all these feelings of separation and you cannot contain, but it's because of the environment, what they told you.
No, it's because of how you isolate yourself from the environment based on beliefs that you don't belong, that you are alone, that you don't belong, that you're not okay, that even in a deeper level you have to deserve your right to exist. You have to earn it, you have to work very hard for it. You have to really do your best to be okay, to be part of. This craziness, this is a craziness, this is really, you are what you are. This is a craziness.
And because your expectations from yourself are so high to belong or to be okay, so there is no way to succeed.
You will never succeed because there will be always a rejection. You know, if you're really successful and everybody thinks you are wow, you know, you're surrounded by a field of dread and jealousy. Because everybody is dreading that you will reject them because you are so good. You're so good. So how could I be good enough for you? The perfect one. And I want to be like her. And she's got it and I don't have it.
So there's no win-win.
There is no win-win situation. There is, when you really look at it, you know, the joy we have to read into cheap newspapers, you know, about the bad luck stars have and how they fail. The joy. Ah, you see, his marriage is also a mess. And then we feel such a righteousness because the pretense was there of happiness. It's evil. This is, if you look into it, it's quite evil. There's so much rejection, so much pretense, so much stories in it, so much pain, which is not really touched. Instead of feeling sorry for the person, we enjoy it. He fell down.
And what makes some people take it for a deep depression and some people can just overcome it and somehow live?
If we define depression in how deeply you feel connected with the environment, how deeply you're able to experience. Some people are more able to cover it up and some people are less able to cover it up. But if the more you have the self-confidence and the ability to deal with the pain of rejection, to be able to contain this. You know, the moment, there is a magical moment that you really go to the pain of rejection. And if you really go to the depth of pain of rejection, something else is touched which moves much more deeper, which is this right to exist thing, which it's kind of built on, the root of it, this craziness, then an incredible anger comes forth, a rage. And this rage is basically, if you give words to it, is nothing else as, you know, I will decide for myself if I'm okay or not. This is the start of taking responsibility for yourself. You don't give it to others. Tell if you're okay or not.
It's like this hand that's coming from the ground, you know, out, I'm still alive.
Exactly, I'm still alive. I kind of, and this rage is like a burning fire, in a way, in which you start to step on your own legs. There's no dependency on others anymore in the form of, am I okay? Do you love me? Am I really okay? If the other person says no, even if it's a joke, you're not devastated. Doesn't mean that the pattern is always gone, but you're not devastated. It's not that you're, totally break down in a blubber, or you need to revenge. So, if you don't love me anymore, I don't love you anymore. You can stand for your own feelings, for your own love, for your own connection. And rejection is always painful, and always an illusion. How could we reject what is there? It's like, saying this is not there. You can say, I don't know how to deal with this, you can ignore it. There's a lot of things to deal, but to reject is kind of, it's there. It's like saying, okay, I reject this candle. I don't like the candle is not good, I really reject the candle. So when you really do that with this energy, I reject this candle, the candle is very, very, very healthy.
Very what?
Healthy. It's
Very
more
what?
healthy as I am. Because the candle, if I do this, the pure existence of the candle is really kind of growing. It is there. There is no question about it. The more we reject the candle, the more the candle exists. For us, for me. That's how it works.
Because you cannot ignore it.
It is
Well,
there.
my energy is but
It is there. If you reject your anger or the anger of another person, it becomes really an issue. It becomes an issue towards this person is walking anger. The whole existence of the anger is blowing up. And not for this person, but for you. I'm talking about your own perception.
But how can you explain it when simply someone doesn't want to be a friend of you?
So
Or can you tell them, I'm here anyway, I'm here.
exactly, but why
But
does
only
everybody
friends.
has to be a friend of you?
Yeah, of course not, but
Yeah,
but it's but you do get the sense of rejection of it.
Yeah, so it's a little bit painful, especially if you want to reach out with friendship.
Yeah,
So there is some rejection there. So that's painful.
yeah.
So suck it up, princess. Second time, I cannot help myself. I'm so sorry.
I was thinking about it the whole night after the first time we saw them. So if it was someone else telling that, I would say, fuck off. I'm not a princess, you don't know me, but
Yeah, I know.
it's you. I'm giving you too much authority in that one, so,
Ay.
don't.
Okay. So what I mean, we are a little bit spoiled in how we deal with the pain inside ourselves. And there is this pain, so it is there. It's like the candle, it is there, it happened. Somebody doesn't want to be your friend. What is worse, when somebody is your friend first and then says to you, I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Yeah.
Ow! Grief, pain, whatever. But does this mean that you're not okay? Does this mean that you have to be somebody else as you are? Does this mean that you kind of, have to go on your knees back up and back to Jerusalem, to the wall, to put a little letter, please let us be friends again. Does that mean this? This is a very Christian thing to say. Repentance. Yeah. So, this whole thing of rejection, when you look to the depth of it, it is a kind of, what is it based on?
What is rejection based on?
Yeah, what is it based on?
on the doubt of the existence.
Power structures. Power. Pure power. And what is power based on? A deep feeling of powerlessness. You know, if you reject a person, you gain power. You're okay because he's not okay. It's power.
Yeah, it's like you're planning to break up with someone, and he's doing it first. Even though you wanted to break up with him, you still feel...
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
It's a loss of ego.
Yeah.
It's all what it is, a loss of ego. It's not realistic. So it's better to do something to another before he does it to you.
Yeah.
It's power games. Coming forward for a deep feeling of powerlessness. Okay, we can go on for hours like this because it's an interesting area, this whole area of rejection, but we talked a lot about it again. So what's the second ingredient?
Second point?
The second ingredient, the second point of depression.
You talked about ingredients, but you talked also about depression points. So
Yeah, the second point is the second ingredient. To come to deep, full depression. So when this point is shot, that means that less vitality is moving from the lower part to the heart area.
Mm-hmm.
But still, this is open. So some spiritual energy, vitality will move like this towards the heart. But already when this is closed, it's totally clear that the energy moving to the heart is not coming straight from the pelvic so much anymore, but it comes through the mind. So the mind already is in charge of the heart.
When the first point is blocked, it's clear that the vitality is not coming through from below up.
Yeah.
So the vitality, what there is coming from mind.
Yes, moving through the mind. So the mind is basically, has a big influence on the heart at the moment. The mind is basically deciding about the heart. I should love, because it is my child. You should love your child. There must be a feeling of love. I'm not okay because I don't feel enough love towards my child right now. If you could say right now, it would change the whole world. But we take things absolute. So if you see this movement, the first thing that comes forward is I should, I have to.
Are we on the second point now?
The second point. Everything to do with obligation.
Obligation.
Obligation, the have-tos.
The thyroid actually?
No, it's
No,
the
it's
on
very
top
low.
of the sternum. And you push there, it's a little bit painful.
Yeah.
If there is a little bit difficulty with authorities, it will hurt.
Also, if somebody makes you ashamed, I feel it here.
You can feel it there. But
So
this
you have to
whole
have an authority
area,
issue, right?
this whole area is connected with freedom. It's the area of freedom. So what's interfering with our freedom?
You have to be free.
You have everything we have to do. Obligation. It's not that you make the choice on yourself. Obligation means that there is an authority who's deciding what you have to do. This authority can be outside ourselves or inside ourselves, but this gives us a feeling of lack of freedom. It's not our own decision, is it? The authority says how it has to be. The authority is telling you what you have to be, how you have to act. And if you don't act like this, if you don't do what you should do, you are wrong. And maybe that's shame, but for me that is guilt. You're guilty because you didn't do it as you should have done it. My God. You know, when you look to this is so high floating in the air, it's not grounded at all. It's not like this happened, this is what you've done. You know, it's what you should have done. It's reality upon reality. How a person should do it, how you should be. You're guilty because you didn't listen. You should have listened. You're guilty because you did something against an inner or an outer authority who knows better. Afterwards.
It's like educational talk. See,
Afterwards. You see, I told you 1,000,000 times. And now you're in trouble. And you want me to care? You did it upon yourself. Because of you, your father and I have sleepless nights. And really, that's why your father is divorcing me. I say very bad statements, but we are full of these statements. I enlarge them, kind of, to show the principle. But how often are we making stories like this? Because of. It's not taking any responsibility, and guilt and obligation is coming forward. It's acquisition. How do you say it?
Accusation.
Accusation.
My dad used to tell us, we used to get angry at us in the morning when we didn't get in time for school.
Yeah.
And he used to say, now you got me angry, and now I'm driving all day, and I'll be nervous on the road, I can have a car accident, and I can die just because you got me so angry. I used to go to school thinking all day when somebody's going to know to me that my dad had a car accident because of me.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the way that was. We were grown up like that.
We were all
Our generation.
there, yeah, but when you look into the logic of it, is this really logic? Is this really truth? Is it really like that? Doesn't her father is an adult guy who can decide for himself to drive wildly or not? Does he have to drive wildly because his child is late?
No, but if she didn't sleep all night because she was sick, for example, and he didn't sleep at night, and that means less concentrated on the
So you should be
road.
more
So
careful.
actually, things are connected. It's not a reason to blame.
Well,
No, but if you feel that you didn't sleep all night and you're really not, it's not responsible to drive and you still drive because you have to drive, instead of saying, okay, I didn't sleep all night, I don't feel that right now it's responsible to drive. I'm sorry.
You will fire him at work.
Oh yeah?
That's the responsibility.
Exactly. So then you see how authority is moving from one thing to another. This is authority moving, not taking responsibility yourself. It's authority moving, because if I do this, we come totally into Maya land. If I do this, then I get fired from my work. So I have to do this because otherwise I get fired from my work. Because my boss is not a reasonable guy. He's not somebody with a brain himself who cares. My boss is somebody who fires. All human relations get lost. It becomes all kind of two-dimensional authorities. It's Maya land. Who says that you get fired from your work? Maybe, maybe not, you don't know. But if you get fired from your work because you take responsibility, how do you feel about yourself? What if you get fired from your work because you don't take responsibility? And it's the third accident you're causing. Everything is possible. It's stories. It's not reality. It's not taking responsibility. It's fear on fear on fear on fear.
Social, I don't know what mentality. That if you don't come to work because you don't sleep at night, you're a spoiled princess.
Yeah, suck it up, princess. That's what the boss will say to you, maybe.
Think to yourself, and even if you're sick, even if you have a fever, what do you mean you don't come because you didn't sleep at night?
Yeah, but it's a big difference if you say, I don't feel that it's responsible to come today. I don't have the feeling that I can function well.
So then in high tech, they will fire you.
So they fire you.
I know this environment really good.
So that's possible.
It's
They will-
unacceptable.
So it's unacceptable. So it's unacceptable. So if it's unacceptable, still you can say, okay, I choose that my job is more important. If this is the rules I work under, don't blame the boss. Go to yourself. If it's really like this, then, you know, it's more important for you to keep your job as to stay at home. So you go to your job. So you can do it in the most responsible way. Take a train. Ask somebody else to give you a ride. If you're too tired to drive, you shouldn't drive if you really take responsibility.
And if you're too angry, don't get angry. It's your problem, get angry.
No, you can get angry, but you can't blame somebody else for you getting angry.
No, it's your anger.
That's what I'm saying. If it's hurt you so much to be angry, just don't get angry. Solve it.
Yeah, again, it's the same sentence. I will not come back to it. Basically, you say, I'm not able to live with my anger.
No, I'm saying that you cannot blame your child for making you angry, because it's you, the one who chose to be angry.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not a choice. It's not controllable.
Okay,
it
but
happens.
it's not your child's problem.
No, it's not your child's problem how you are able to deal with your anger.
Exactly.
It becomes a problem when you get abusive. And we are abusive with our anger because we blame it on the other. So we have to punish the other because we feel anger. This is abuse. This is the basis of abuse. We feel angry because something is moving over our borders. It's difficult for us to put a border. It's difficult for us to ask for ourselves, please don't do this. And then we blame the anger on the other. This is the start of abuse. So let's kill the one who's making us angry, because we don't like to be angry.
Still here?
So when we look to this whole area, which is connected with heftus, with authority complexes, we move it to guilt and accusation. We accuse others not to feel guilty. Not to take responsibility. So, if this is totally frozen as well, you can understand what's happening here. It's not much vitality coming to the chest area anymore. When we're frozen in fear of guilt or accusation, we're frozen in guilt, which is, guilt is not natural. There is, a natural person feels regret, not guilt. Guilt is a feeling which is put upon us. It's not a natural feeling. So that's the only feeling I say with guilt. You can totally ignore it. You can throw it away in the waste paper basket. It's not natural, it's artificial. It's a created feeling. If you really and are sorry about something you did, you feel regret. Guilt is, you don't buy anything for guilt. I'm sorry, I'm so guilty. Nothing will change ever from guilt.
And also, yeah, how does it regret? Ken?
And you don't want a person to be guilty, because when a person is guilty because he did something to you and he's so guilty, he hangs on you. You know, you have to make it good for the other person because he's so guilty. You have to forgive the other person. You have to make it good. Sorry. That was very unpleasant.
Used to it.
What?
Used to it.
I'm used to it.
Oh, what's coming?
So then we move to the last point, the third one, and that is this deep belief This is a point which is here, just on the edge of the chin.
Where the pubic hairs grow.
Where the what?
Pubic hairs grow.
Hormonal.
Hormonal hairs.
Is
Here.
it on the edge? Is it like right on the edge between upper and down?
Yeah, just on the edge of the chin here. I will go around and show you
Okay.
later. Here, on this edge when we're going to use and work with them a little bit. So, this last point has to do with will.
That's where the will.
That's the will. That's connected with will. And subconscious we know it. The will.
Okay.
To have your own will. What we see in a lot of cartoons is, you know, when you look at soldiers in cartoons, they always have a chin like this.
Mm-hmm.
And a general have a chin like this. Because, you know, he's the commander. He's in charge. Big chin.
I thought will was here though. But
So the will is very much to allow yourself to execute your own will.
Your own?
Will. And again, this is a connection with authority. What you want, what you want from life, what you want from yourself, what you want is not relevant. What's relevant is what other people want. What's relevant is what's needed for the world. What's relevant is what your mother wants from you. That's relevant. What you want is not relevant. This is quite a frustration of the will. And that has an influence, especially when there's a lot of guilt and accusation, also on the whole area of expression. That shuts us down. We're not able to express anymore what we feel, what we will, what we want, what we think.
you spoke a little bit before about these 2 points as far as when they get, frozen or blocked, some of the things that might here. Will this then, since I don't know so much
This
about-
also get blocked and frozen when it's a full-blown depression and you can hardly express yourself anymore.
Would this also then, since it's right here on the edge of the chin,
Yeah.
would it have an effect then actually on right here and jaw?
Yeah,
Okay,
the whole jaw.
because that's where I see it more,
Yeah,
rather
exactly.
than pain here.
Yeah,
it's not
it
so
will have an
painful.
effect on the whole jaw,
Jaw.
the stiffness of the jaw.
Is it also the forcing
And
of,
it has, oh sorry, yeah,
forcing of the will on others?
yeah,
If it's blocked, it's not just receiving will, it's also dictating will.
yeah,
That's also a dysfunction.
And when you
There's 2 sides to that coin.
yeah. There's an influence on the activity of the mucous membrane, the mucus glands here, the saliva glands. And again, it's very much what Georgie brings forward, also the abuse of your will on others. When there is a balance, everybody has his own will, and you try to find the middle way. How are we going to do it together?
WILL.
Alcohol will be.
Yeah.
So if we're frustrated in our will, and we're guilty like hell, and we feel absolutely not seen and rejected to the depth, then these are the main ingredients for deep depression. And we know all these feelings, and sometimes they come together.
Say those 3 again.
When we have a feeling that we have nothing to will in this world, that we are guilty like hell, and we are not good as we are, deeply rejected. So what do? We all have this feeling now and then. We go lay in our beds never want to get out again. We want to die. And then what we do, instead we start a new cycle of learning in this area. We start a new project. We try again to be okay. We try again.
And here we go.
There we go.
And here we go again.
And again we get disappointed. The project doesn't work. So we end up in bed. So we regularly find ourselves back in our beds, under the blankets, not wanting to live anymore. But that's such a horrible feeling that we kind of, we pull ourselves out of the bed. Also because we have to, because we lose our job.
Children and our love.
Wait for the break.
We wait for the break to be really depressed.
Does it have to be in this order? Or can it be?
It can, every order is possible. The moment that we feel guilty, we're already more depressed. When we feel obliged to do things, obligated, and it's not spontaneous, we feel already more depressed. It's not really a simple example, your neighbor is sick, and you want to bring some food for the neighbor, just from the goodness of yourself. It's spontaneous is coming up. And then, your husband, your mother, your father says you should bring something to the neighbor, some soup. It's already decided what it is, you're just thinking about rice. But soup. Has to be soup for the neighbor. If you come to the neighbor and you deliver the soup, the amount of joy and life which is in it is already diminished. You recognize what I'm talking about? Yeah. Soup with depression. I hope it will make you better. Don't do it back. Because then I'm obligated to do it as well. Again, you understand, it becomes obligation. In obligation, there is much less joy. When spontaneous, you feel that you want to do something for somebody else. When you have to do it, it's like, oh. You recognize what I'm talking about? And so often we feel spontaneous that we want to do something. We want to make a change. We want to help. We want to reach out. But then it has to be according to some rules, in a structure. There's nothing wrong with structure, but there is, when you look to this whole area, there is a lot of authority and a lot of abuse of power in it.